Welcome to this instance of the Bitrise webinar series, and thank you for joining us. My name is Janusz, and I'm going to be the host of today's Bitrise webinar. Let me introduce Thomas Carpentier to you, who is massively experienced and passionate about mobile testing. He is a solutions architect at Genymotion, which is a French company building a set of tools helping enterprise companies to build, test, and deploy Android apps. And Thomas is going to walk us through how to speed up our Android tests by integrating Genymotion and Bitrise. So after this quick theoretical overview, we'll also jump into a live demo and we'll actually see how it gets done. With that in mind, I think without further ado, I would like to pass it on to Thomas so he can take the stage and teach us how the Genymotion integration makes our lives easier.
Hi everyone, thanks Janos for this introduction. So thank you everyone to be here today. And I will share my screen. Here you can see I will talk about how to speed up test for your Android application by integrating Genymotion and Bitrise. So I'm Thomas, I'm QA engineer and solution architect at Genymotion. Let's have a quick introduction on Genymotion Cloud. Genymotion Cloud is Android virtual devices in the cloud, and as it's in the cloud, it's scalable. You can start as many devices as you want. We manage the infrastructure, and you will letting you focus on writing and executing your tests. With Bitrise integration, we wanted to extend the compatibility of testing framework. You can indeed run any tests from framework that rely on AGB, such as Espresso, Appium, or Detox. There will be demos for those framework during the webinar. You can also interact with the devices from a web browser. Genymotion Cloud is available on as a SaaS solution or available on third-party provider. The integration is done with a SaaS solution, but it's possible to use the other provider outside of the Genymotion steps, and there will be tutorials for that if you're interested. So let's talk about Genymotion and Bitrise steps. So we decided to work with Bitrise because Bitrise is a CI/CD dedicated to mobile test. And as at Genymotion, we want to help developers and QA engineers to find bugs as soon as possible. We thought it's a good idea to create an integration. To do that, we have to create two Bitrise steps. The first one is called Genymotion Cloud Start Android Devices. And with the steps, we will be able to start one or more Android virtual devices on Genymotion Cloud. And the second one is Genymotion Cloud Stop Android Devices. With this step, we will stop all the devices started by the start step. We can see how to use Bitrise and Genymotion steps. And I will open Android. I will open Bitrise. So for the first demo, I will explain you how to create a workflow in order to run your Appium test with Bitrise and Genymotion. So I have an application. Here is my Android app. I will create a new workflow. I will call it webinar 2, 1. I have already some step configured, and now I need to set up my workflow. So what I have to do in the first thing is to build the application. So I will add a Gradle runner step. I need to configure it. For example, I want to assemble debug to run assemble debug task. Here I need to change in order to find Gradle file path. So I know it's project location / Gradle. And so with this step, in output, we will have a Bitrise APK path, and we will use it in a Appium running test. So now we have built the application. We can add another step in order to install and run Appium server. To do that, I need to add a script step. I will call it install and run Appium. And in the script content, I will add some command lines. So just copy paste. So here you need to export Java Home because Appium did it. We will install Appium with npm, and we will start Appium, and then we will put server logs into a text file in order to retrieve it in the artifact of the build. So now you have the application built, you are running Appium, you can start Android devices. So here now we will add Genymotion steps. So you can search for Genymotion. You have the 2 steps. So we will take the first one, start Android devices. So the steps takes some parameter in input variable. For example, you need to fill your credential. So I already put them as an environment variable and secrets in Bitrise. So I just need to check Genymotion Cloud SaaS email and password, sorry. Now we need to add some recipe UID. Recipe UID is a unique ID of Genymotion instance. If you want to start Android 10 or Android 9, you will have a specific recipe UID. You can check on your help desk center. The link is just here. We have a comprehensive list of all recipe UID available. So here, if you want to test Samsung Galaxy S10 with Android 9, we have a specific UID. So I can take it and I will add it in the recipe UID input box. If you want to test more devices, you can add some ID just separated with a comma. So for example, I want to test a Google Pixel 3 in Android 10. I just will add it here. If you want to test 10 Android devices, you have to put 10 recipe ID in the input box. If you want to test the same devices 10 times, you have to copy paste 10 times the same recipe UID. Another parameter is the ADB serial port. For some test framework like Appium or Detox, you need to specify an ADB serial port in order to run them in parallel or in order to authorize the server to communicate with the devices. For example, if I check my Python code, I have a test send message.py, and here I put two devices with a port 4321 and 4322. So I will just copy paste them into the input box. As a recipe ID, the ADB serial port is separated with a comma. So that's all for the steps on the Google Genymotion Cloud Start step. Sorry. Now we can run Appium test. So to do that, we will add a script steps. We will run Appium test. And in my tests are written in Python. So I just need to install some dependencies, and I will execute PyTest to run my tests in parallel. So just pipe install requirement and PyTest execute my test with the Bitrise APK path is the path of the build app steps. And we add some JUnit XML file in order to retrieve the result. And now we have run a test, so you can stop the devices. So I just add stop Android devices step. You have nothing to do here because the only input variable is the instance UID list. This list is exported with the start step just here. And that means that all devices started with the start step will be stopped in this step. After that, maybe we can add an export test result to the test report add-on from Bitrise. So here I just will call it webinar. I put my result in test result. And I want all XML file. So now we have a step to build the application. We have a step for install and run Appium server. Another one to start Android devices. We have a step to run Appium test, stop Android, and export test result. Okay, I think we are good. So let's go to click on save, and we can start a build. Webinar 1, master. Okay, so let's go. Let the magic happen. So during, we will see all the steps running. I can show you Genymotion Cloud SaaS platform. Here you can see we have all devices available. You can filter by Android version. And here you can see we have no virtual devices running for the moment. In a few seconds, we will see 2 devices started. The 2 devices will be started by the start step, and we will open it in order to see the test. So the application is built. We are currently installing and running Appium server. Okay, now we will start Android devices. We just update the distribution with Python 3 because we need it. And we will install our binary and we will execute the integration. So you can see we have 2 devices. We will start 2 devices. I hope I will not have a demo effect. Okay, just refresh the page. So we have 2 devices. One is an Android 10 and another one is Android 9. So I can display it. So the devices is connected with ADB with a specific serial port. So now we can see Appium and the test will open an application. It's my application. And we will see a message. And the tests are okay. It's just a unique test. And as you can see, the Genymotion Cloud SaaS stop all the virtual devices in our platform. So here, now we have no virtual devices. So if I go back to Bitrise, we just wait a few, well, it's over. So the workflow is success. You can see here the application you built, and you can see also Appium server logs. So if some tests are failed, you can check these logs in order to check what's happened with Appium. And we exported the test result to test report add-on. So just click here, and you will see two test results for webinar. So here I see my test I see two tests, one on devices with ADB serial port 4321, and another one is 4322. So the tests are okay. So that's all for running Appium test with Genymotion and Bitrise. So I can show you another workflow. We can check Espresso Workflow. I will not run it because it took some time, but I can just explain you. So here we have a webinar Espresso Workflow. It's similar as a Appium workflow. We have a start Android devices, stop Android devices, and we have a Gradle runner task with connected Android test. That means when we will run the workflow, we will start on Android devices, we will execute connecting Android test and stop devices. So that's all for Espresso. It's really simple. Another one I can show you, it's Detox. Because Detox is a little bit complicated. So here we have always the start Android devices steps. We have started, so we have put one recipe ID and we have put one ADB serial port. If with Detox, you need to configure some Detox config. So here we need to, for example, we have a configuration called android.emu.release. You have to change the path because it's not an Android emulator, it's attached with ADB. You need to add a name. So here is a localhost with the ADB serial port 49271. So as you can see, it's the same. It's the same here. And we need to configure the session server with a port 8099. So now I've an Android started, and as a Detox, it's a JavaScript dependency. We need to run an npm command with a npm installed. And after that, you need to add a script step in order to run the Detox server. You also need to build the application with the specific configuration. You need to set up some ADB proxy in the device, command in the device, and you need to bind the local port with the proxy port on the device. If you see here, we have bind the port localhost with port 3333 with the port 8099. It will allow a bit Detox server to communicate with Android devices in the cloud. After that, you are just to run the detox test command line with the specific configuration file. And that's all for, we stop devices as usual. Just one thing I didn't tell you. We developed the stop Android devices step in order to run it even if the previous step failed. Because if, for example, if your test fails, Bitrise workflow stops and doesn't run the steps after the failed step. So if we check this box here, run if previous step failed, the step will be always running, even if it's failed before. So with Genymotion, you are sure that we will not have any Android devices running when you have no workflow running. It's good introduction with Genymotion steps. So thank you, and if you have some question, I'm ready.
Thank you for the demo, Thomas. It was really great, and I loved your test app as well. With It's a Trap. I have to say I learned a lot, and hopefully that's the case for our audience as well. In the meantime, I also have a question. Like what we've seen is running a test on an emulator. So what is the difference between testing on an emulator on a virtual device and testing on a real device?
There is, in fact, there is no difference. The only difference is a real device costs it's expensive. If you want to test your application on Android 9, on Android 10, on several Android version, you need to have a lot of Android real devices, and it's difficult. So with emulator, you can have emulator on the cloud, and you can have a lot of configuration. You can have Android 9 with specific screen size, with a specific number of CPU. We can configure what you want with the emulator.
I see. Yeah, that makes total sense. On another note, if you would like to get your hands on this verified step and integration, you can check out the Genymotion step in the Bitrise step library. I just posted the link to it in the chat as well. And I would also like to thank Thomas for joining us for today's webinar. I really enjoyed it. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Sorry, go on.
Thank you, Janos. Thank you, everyone.